Well, in my mind, going to the theater is a communal activity. So anything that enhances the communal activity, I think is a good idea.
When was the last time you went to the movies? Well, it looks like most people are skipping the theater and opting for something else. Even with expensive perks like IMAX and dine-in seating, it's still hard for theaters to bring in the crowd. So now, some theaters are going to new lengths. But how far is too far? Imagine this. You're able to watch a movie while smoking marijuana. Interesting. You're able to text during the movie. You know, usually they tell you to put your phone away and don't use your texting. Well, maybe you will be able to now. How about singing along with your favorite soundtrack or your favorite scene? And then those throwback screenings, they also have super high-tech theater options as well. So with weed and watch options, sensor-friendly screenings, and unique events in the works, theaters are doing everything they can to bring you back to the movies. The question is this going to even work? Joining us now is Rotten Tomatoes certified film critic Chandler. Sean, good morning to you. So I'm going to put that question to you. I'm assuming they're going after a younger audience. Is this going to work?
Well, in my mind, going to the theater is a communal activity. So anything that enhances the communal activity, I think is a good idea. So inherently for me, the idea of having text phone-friendly screenings is counterintuitive to the idea of going to the movies. The person that would solve the problem for them, are they really wanting to pay $20 to go play on their phone while watching a movie? Or is it more likely that person's just going to wait? So I think that that's a miss. But some of these other ideas, a sing-along showing of Wicked, that turns into like a concert. That's so fun for the people that attend that. I'm not a part of the cannabis community. I can't speak to it, but there's a lot of movies that people say, oh man, that would be so great if you watched it high. And suddenly that becomes a communal activity. Some other things they mentioned in the article about having like pickleball and things like that. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with someone that said, I'd go to the movies more if only they had pickleball. But at the same time, if you make a movie theater an all-inclusive place to do a date night or a family night, suddenly it's a go-to destination for when you want to have fun as a family. So I think all of it in terms of, does this make for a better communal activity? And the ones that do that, I think are worth trying.
That's actually a really good point. I'm with you in not being part of the cannabis community because all I can think about is going to a movie theater and being afraid to even breathe because I don't want to eat anything foreign in my system.
Right. But for that community, and I'll say this also, my dad never went to the movies with me growing up because he was a smoker. And you remove that ban, and all of a sudden in my childhood, maybe my dad would have gone to the movies with me. Now I'd be in a theater full of smoke, so that'd be bad, but I would have gone to the movies with my dad.
Yeah, just so many different ways to look at it. All right, well, you know, with IMAX and those dine-in options, why are they losing appeal? And what do you think is next, in addition to some of these communal experiences?
Well, I think that might tie into some of the other places we might want to go this conversation about why people aren't going to the movies, but people that like IMAX love IMAX. People that like dine-in theaters love dine-in theaters. That's their go-to way to go to the movies. So I don't know if it's fully losing appeal or if that's some of the other issues kind of going on here about why people aren't going to the films, because when I meet people that have never been to a dine-in theater, they go to the one for the first time, they're like, this is awesome. This is the only way I want to watch movies. The first time someone watches a real IMAX theater on an IMAX screen and you're in this big immersive environment, they go, that was incredible. That's the best way to watch a movie. But are there enough places and enough cities to go to those types of theaters? And are there the right movies playing to get them to the theater? Yeah. That's where I would kind of go with it, because I think those are some of the best ways to watch films. When I have a date night with my wife, I go to a dine-in theater because it's an all-inclusive theater experience.
It definitely is all-inclusive. And you're right, those are super niche audiences, so that might be where they need to increase their advertising, perhaps. All right, Sean Chandler, always a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, this is me actually right after I recorded that news segment. Before the interview, they sent me the list of questions in advance, and they actually had one more really important question that we didn't quite get. Actually, I don't need these in my ear. One more. That's how soon this is after I recorded that those are still in my ears. But they had one more really important question that I alluded to in my answers that I didn't get to because we ran out of time. And so They were going to ask, is the decline in theater attendance due more to film quality or the movie-going experience itself? And that's the really important missing piece in this discussion that I really wish we could have touched on the live broadcast. But the reason that theaters are in decline is a bunch of other factors besides what we discussed solves, making the theater experience better for individual people. But if you look at over the last few years, I think generally speaking, most people agree that the blockbuster quality has not been as strong. It feels fairly stagnant, while ticket prices are going up. So it costs more and the quality is dropping. The likelihood of a less than stellar movie is higher than it used to be, while the cost is higher than it used to be. Adding to that, more and more, there's a lot of just bad theater experiences. Some of it's even the counterexample of what we discussed in the segment about people being on their phone during movies, that you go to the movies and there's just obnoxious teenagers on the phone, and it's just like, why am I paying $20 per person to be in the theater with obnoxious teenagers that are on their phone? Why don't I just stay home? Compounding all of that, the theatrical window is shrinking. When I was growing up, a movie would play in theaters and you couldn't watch it on home video for 9 months, and even then it would be VHS quality on your crappy TV. Now, with some of these movies, it's 2-3 weeks after it debuts in theaters, you can rent it at home to watch on your HD television in 4K. So, you're like, why would I risk paying $100 to take my family to go see this movie just for tickets when I can wait a few weeks and watch it for $20 at home? And you put all those pieces together and you kind of have a perfect storm of declining attendance. And a bunch of gimmicks won't solve that. The more Hollywood makes it exciting to go to the movies and protects the theatrical window so that studios aren't rushing to streaming and home video. The more that there's a bit of a gap there. So there's the theatrical experience and you make better movies that people are actually interested in, that doesn't leave people disappointed. Have tickets that are reasonably priced and enforce reasonable rules. That you can't be on your phone, and that if you kick people out, if they're being bad, like enforce your rules so it's a good experience at a reasonable cost for a movie people actually want. People go back to the theaters. But if movies are mediocre, just so many mid films combined with bad experience, but high ticket prices and an alternative way to watch it in 2 weeks. Yeah, of course people are going to wait 2 weeks to watch it. I have so many conversations with people that I don't go see these Marvel movies in the theater anymore. I just wait till they drop on Disney Plus in, a month or two, because a lot of them just aren't worth it anymore. Contrast that with a few years back where you wanted to be there to be part of the water cooler conversation. So it's all that other stuff. And I think there's nothing wrong with having sing-alongs. I'm not part of the cannabis community, but I can see why that would be have your marijuana theater. That'd be fun for that specific group of people. But it's all that other stuff you got to fix. It has to be reasonably priced, and you got to have a quality product, both in terms of movies and the theater itself. So I wish I could have talked about that in the segment, but then again, doing the touch-up version here, I'm able to talk about it in more detail than I would there. So maybe it's a plus, but those are my additional thoughts on all of this. But yeah, what do you think? Why are people not going to the theaters, and what will get them back? Which gimmicks are good ideas?